Impulse NGO network with Women Connect and CSR. We are organizing this webinar on women's leadership in the Northeast of India. We welcome each and everyone who participated in this webinar, in this meeting, and also our resource person. Just a little bit about Impulse NGO network for the participant who might not know about us. We work in all the 8 northeastern states of 8 northeastern state, as well as national and international. We are an organization in Meghalaya where we work for anti-human trafficking. We are also working in Bangladesh, Nepal, and Myanmar. Today's program will be our resource person for today's program is Dr. Ranjana Kumari. She is the chairperson, WPC, and executive director of Center for Social Research. Ms. Padmini Kumar, she's a joint women program. Ms. Hasina, Kharbhih, chair of board Impulse NGO network. Dr. Alana Golmei, she's the founder, director, PANNU Foundation, and director, Burma Center, Delhi. General Secretary, Northeast Support Center and Helpline. Ms. Jarjum, she's a Janta Dal Secular from Arunachal Pradesh. We welcome all our resource person and a participant. Now I'll hand over my session to Ms. Gayatri.
Thanks. And so thank you for the welcome from Impulse, and welcome everyone on behalf of Women Power Connect. I think every cloud has a silver lining, and for us the silver lining is that we are able to hold this consultation on women's political participation and leadership in the Northeast, because before Corona we wouldn't have thought of using the technology of internet and Zoom to have such a consultation, and now we are thinking in these lines. And it's really great that we're able to bring together students and NGOs from the Northeast together with people from other parts of India, which normally would not have happened because of the hesitation in traveling and difficulty in reaching these areas. Just before we begin this session, just a brief introduction about Women Power Connect. We are a network-based organization. WPC consists of both individuals and organizations. If you would like to become a member of WPC, it's very easy. You just go to our website and there is a form there which you can fill up and mail to us, and we will make you a member. Passage of the Women's Reservation Bill is an issue that we work on, and we work on all issues related to gender, children, and women, but passage of the Women's Reservation Bill is definitely one of our areas. When it comes to the Northeast, for those of you who may not be aware of the legal situation, a lot of the areas of the Northeast are governed by the 5th and 6th schedule of the Constitution of India. So that basically means that tribal customs and tribal traditions are supreme, and this was done intentionally in order to retain tribal identity, which is very good and definitely desirable. But on the other hand, what it also means is that the benefits of the 73rd constitutional amendment, that is to say reservations for women at panchayats, that has not happened everywhere in the Northeast. It's happened only in the non-scheduled areas, but in other areas, there are autonomous village councils that are functioning. So I think we are looking forward to hearing from Ms. Hasina, Kharbhih, Ms. Jarjum, and Dr. Golmei on how are they functioning. Do women have a say in administration and politics? I think for many of us, our assumption is that women from the Northeast are very much empowered already, and they are taking part in administration and they have a lot of say in decisions. So I don't know if we are right or wrong. Okay, with this, I'd like to now invite Dr. Ranjana Kumari to make the opening address and to say a few words. For those of you who do not know who is Dr. Kumari and who are joining from maybe from the Northeast and who are not aware of who she is, she's worked for over 4 decades on the issue of gender equality and gender equity in India. She's the author of numerous publications, including the publication Brides Are Not for Burning, and women in decision making. The issue of women's representation in politics is very close to her heart. And she's also the chairperson of Women Power Connect and the executive director of Center for Social Research. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for a very generous introduction, Gayatri. I would welcome all of you for this very, very interesting conversation, because it's been quite some time since we all really met and discussed the issue of women leadership, especially losing out on our struggle for women reservation bill. Is being a kind of considered silence on the side of the decision makers, policy makers, the politicians, the political parties. And this, why I'm saying considered silence, because I think in some sense, women and gender agenda has really got a pushback. And also that this doesn't really feel as if it is part of their priority. I think when this India government came to power, the phase one, or you can say this previous when 2014, then we did see it flagged into their manifesto in a very major way, and they talked about giving women leadership. But second term doesn't look like that they have any kind of really any kind of consideration or concern for what is happening to women as such, and also much more so in terms of bringing women leadership issue at the forefront of parliamentary discussions or any kind of policy discourse and discussion. We are really surprised that women are being feeling neglected and ignored. But this whole situation has also exasperated with the way we all have faced this unprecedented times that of our life. We never imagined that everybody would be so confined to home, and we will not be able to really connect with each other, meet each other. Of course, with the use of technology, we have done a lot of it, but really that dialogue between the policymakers, government, and the leadership of the country and the women of India, somewhere there is the link has broken. And I would like to hear from all of you more about it, but I think that link needs to be reestablished, and we need to really push this agenda of women's leadership in much more effective way for the coming years. And we need to really sit down and strategize, and this is our beginning again to start this whole thing from Northeast. Well, Northeast is our, all the states are like our star states, because a lot of social economic indicators go up because of the Northeast achievements. For example, education. When you look at the education, you do see that there is a high level of education. When you see the other indicators in terms of, maternal mortality, many other social indicators, then you do see that Northeast really figures somewhere on the top. And not and doesn't really work like other states, Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh, to pull the nation's statistics down, but they really bring a lot of good you can say that contribution to how India is looked at globally and how we are rated in terms of gender matrix, in terms of health matrix, and everything. But the social economic really position of Northeast doesn't really reflect in the way its leadership is really represented. Now, when you look at less than 5% representation, and you look at Meghalaya, and 3 states, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Nagaland, not sending even one woman to India's parliament, then certainly there's a question to be raised. Is it just some kind of a traditional notion of women's participation in public life, or you can is holding them back? Or is it tribal laws that are really coming in the way of bringing women in the forefront of leadership? Or is it, the whole benign neglect of or by the political parties, who are not really paying any attention to the women of these states? And when it comes to national parties, there's hardly much presence of national parties in terms of their representation and their representation in women in the parliament. But even in the state assemblies, when such small numbers come, less than 5%. I mean, there are 3 states where you don't even have one single representative. So I think this is something I'm sure we would like to hear from Jarjum. She's an old friend and colleague. Hasina, the stars of the Northeast who are going to speak now, will tell us about what is the reason, where are we really getting, what is about everything else. You see that there's a lot of push for achieving barring some bad news which has come about, even Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, perhaps I do see a direct link between uh, lack of women's leadership, lack of women's role in policy making, lack of women's voices in our state houses of state assemblies, and growing threat of more female-based and gender-based selection. I think there's some kind of a direct link between these kind of issues. If you do not have women role models, if you don't have women, represented, then certainly it becomes very difficult for people to understand where really what kind of action they can take. Now, when we look at this pandemic, we all know that this has really exacerbated the situation of women, as I already said. I think there is this whole question of why more women in India have died during the pandemic than men. I mean, death is not good, but more women, 3.3% women compared to 2.9% men died. Journal of Global Health Sciences reported that. And this because women start from the weak health. And when I look at the statistics of Northeast about women's health statistics, there is reason for a lot of concern there about women's health. Then burden of female health workers during this period. It's a very, very important thing to, we started a COVID recovery program, and a lot of Asha Anganwadi workers came up and said that, I mean, we are not getting any kind of help and support. Nobody is helping us to, and there has not been any training. There has not been any even safety kit distributed. So we would like to hear from Northeast stories what really happened. And this would have never happened if there were women sitting with gender lens or men sitting with gender lens and looking at what we are doing in terms of COVID recovery. Then also that, the whole threat of economy going down and people losing jobs, and much more than women have lost jobs. 4 out of 10 women in the organized sector have lost their jobs, and they are still unemployed. Large number of unorganized sector, and since a lot of Northeastern women are in the informal sector of economy, we have to look at where they are at the moment, what is happening with their employment and their household economy and their income and their earning ability. Besides that, we also know that of course 17 million people have lost jobs. I mean, women have lost jobs, not people, women have lost jobs. So in that situation, where is Northeast figuring, and what women leadership could have done and would do in future when we have more women coming as leadership positions? Well, other than that, there are very many concerns that have come from other parts of the country. That is about growing violence against women, 2.5 times more. Women have been facing that violence even before COVID, and COVID really created a condition where women got locked down within the lockdown. The four walls of the household, nowhere to go. Traditional support systems collapsed. They could not really come forward to complain to anyone. There was no sharing. Even now, they are living with the same situation. We are getting reports from everywhere in the country in our counseling centers, and I'm sure all of you must be getting the same kind. Trafficking has increased. Impulse does a lot of work on trafficking in women. Girl-child marriage has increased because of this, and that report has come also from Northeast. So lot of it in terms of what is happening generally to women in the country is also happening in Northeast. I just want to flag one thing here, that whichever country we look at, whether it is globally, we do see that wherever women are the leaders, they have managed this crisis very well. They have managed the crisis well, not only in terms of saving lives, in terms of reaching out to people, providing better health services to people. They have better community health services organized, but also that they have really looked at the issues of growing domestic violence. They've looked at other kinds of issues which have come in terms of issues of employment. So women leaders have managed their countries better. They have really responded to in a better manner and looked after their all population, but much more so also focus was on women. But what do we see here? I think we see here still a lot of issues which are really, which could have been put in the back burner. We need not have really brought all those issues like legislating love jihad, like, looking at this whole issue of, I mean, everything. I don't want to really, but then separate, really creating a kind of communal wedge in the society, putting people against people, all kinds of, so those are the issues we should not have been in this crisis. When this is a crisis of survival, this is a crisis when everybody is fighting for their survival in terms of economic well-being, in terms of health, in terms of life itself. So I feel that, women are needed to move our economy, women are needed to move our health services in future. When I look at the future, I feel that, you may have bigger challenges coming, because how unprepared we were when COVID really came. So I think it's to deal with those bigger challenges, we have to build strong, formidable, and really, forthright women leadership. And how do we do that in Northeast? I feel that all of you have to sit down and think about it, and also we have to really look at the possibilities. So please come forward and make your presentations. I was not aware of the time, how much time I have, but this is what I have to say. What do we do? What should be our next step? What should be our strategy? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There's a slight change in the agenda. What we'll do is we'll first go and have a brief presentation from Padmini ji on what has the National Alliance for the Women's Reservation Bill done at the national level. This is an alliance of over 1,500 members, including, including WPC and Oxfam and other organizations. So over to Padmini ji, who is board member of WPC and Joint Women's Program.
Hi, everybody. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Can I share? I would like to do the share screen.
You are a co-host, so you can share the screen.
Okay. So. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So, good evening, everybody. Being an activist, I suppose, I would like to start with this little song we use for each and every, I mean, like protests and marches and, meetings. So I'll just read it out. तू खुद को बदल, तभी तो ज़माना बदलेगा. तू बोलेगी, तू मुंह खोलेगी, तभी तो ज़माना बदलेगा. लड़ेंगे, जीतेंगे. This has been our slogan. आदि आबादी मांगे पूरी आज़ादी. 33% आरक्षण देना सरकार की जिम्मेदारी. And how much the Sarkar thinks that it's responsibility, we have yet to see. I don't think it's still even talking about it. A little down the memory lane, Dr. Ranjana will see this and probably remember. It's a lovely picture of all the leaders meeting Prime Minister Vajpayee. And which year was it, Dr. Ranjana? Unmute.
And you have to unmute yourself.
I said this was his second term, and we all barged into his office, and then finally he gave us appointment. And then we went on the appointment day. So this was the meeting, and very, very interesting when he promised that he will ensure that it will be passed.
Thank you.
I don't remember exactly the.
Okay, thank you. So as we go along, I'll show you a few slides. What all who all we met, and how we went about. We met from the top leaders to the bottommost. I mean, like rung of the society. Like rural women, community women, and urban villagers everywhere. And each and every time, there were many questions which were raised. We will talk about it later. So the next slide would be this, and Aurat ki Awaaz Uthi. See, these are certain ways to, the slogans were like, fresh breath for people who were protesting or, demanding their rights. Every time we would coin some kind of a slogan, it would be like a fresh breath for us, and it would resound, and it would really, when we marched along with these slogans, it was like the lungs were filled, and the hearts were actually saying, okay, probably after this we might see some change in the government's position or something, but I don't think it's yet to it has yet come. So this is with CSR. We had had the German chancellor who had come, and there were many press conferences. There were many meetings. I mean, I may be doing injustice by not showing all of them, because there is a paucity of time here. But see, the way it is it was an ongoing process. Maybe every month we met, maybe every conversation when we met was about women's reservation bill being either passed, or should we sit on protest, should we lie down, or what should we do, where should be the meeting next, and things like that. And also, this was also the meeting, I think, when the German Chancellor office, I think, had come. Am I right? When the German Chancellor's political advisor had come. Am I right?
Yes,
This was
yes,
that meeting.
yes.
Yeah. So that's one. I have many pictures, but yes. So see, this is how it goes on. Protests at Jantar Mantar was constant, and we never got tired out of it. This one is, of course, we started planning, and when we started planning, we discussed how to, maybe publicize our movement, or maybe how to take it to common people who are not even aware of how to, what is it actually. Some people, will some people even know about it? Will some people question whether we need the reservation or not? So we thought we should go and meet each and every minister, each and every cabinet minister, and political leaders. So these were certain exercises we undertook during our maybe an year-long process. And we also collected about a lack of letters, handwritten letters requesting the prime minister, as well as the president, and also the speakers of both the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. And of course, we didn't get any reply back. At one point, it was even told to us that it is not a small thing to get an appointment with the prime minister. So slowly the things changed, and I suppose the color of the whole system environment has also changed. National Alliance protesting just before the closure of winter session. Every session of the parliament, each and every session of the parliament, we would go and protest. We would call the call a press meeting. We would call press people, media people. Every time, somehow they had, taken so many, videos and clippings and audio recordings. So much so, even the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, journalists used to come and write it down. Maybe, somewhere there'll be a mention next day, in the second or third page, that it's just, women were protesting for women's reservation bill. That's about it. So we know that slowly the people were not very like the government was not very keen to bring up this bill for discussion. These are the community meetings we used to have, whether it is in Uttarakhand, Mount Abu, and then of course we went to Jhansi also with the CSR and WPC. We did go to many other places. So this is how we call it. It's neither donation nor alms. It's our right. Ye bheek nahi. It is our right. So it's not. We are not begging for it. So these, see, if you can see that these slogans are very strong slogans. If any government had some kind of like a sensitivity, they would have definitely responded to it. After 2010, when it was passed in on March 9th, it was a very momentous time, and it was so historical. It was just after 8th March, which was International Women's Day, and it was we thought the process will continue, and then we would see the end of the tunnel, but didn't happen. These are some of our community awareness programs. We have gone, yes, you can see that we've gone from everywhere. I mean, nook and corner, and small villages, small towns. This is meeting of the political parties, leaders, and Kumari was one of the, I think she was also very, very positive about it. There were many, many meetings, and in Jantar Mantar, in her house, and also with other party leaders. After every, just before every parliamentary session, there used to be a all party meet by the Prime Minister. So we would send our memorandum as well as the demand for bringing up the bill in the session. During that session, yeah, it didn't come up. So our partner, since its inception, JWP has been part of OBR, and we also do a lot of domestic violence counseling and awareness programs on violence on women and children. So this is in 1 year we have. Every year we take up the same issue, but yes, it is different. That it was different that year. So this was the press conference. I'd like to again ask Ranjana ji. I think it was soon after we adopted this, because they had said that it is ab 33 nahi 50 milega. Was it this, or did we release our manifesto? Okay, sorry. So sorry about that. So we released the manifesto at this point. And I don't have many other pictures of this particular conference, press conference. This is meeting with Suresh. See, we had charted out, chalked out a lot of things, out of which that meeting, all the leaders, was something which was carried out side by side with community meetings and meeting other leaders. Sumitra Mahajanji. There were. I don't think we left out any of the ministers or any of the leaders, political party leaders. One group will meet one leader, the other group will meet the other leader, maybe small, maybe big, maybe party karyakartas, or party line all across the party. We met Priyanka Gandhi, we met Rahul Gandhi, we met everyone. Entirely, the whole political party system was such that they would always say yes to it, but nothing happened after that. This was in a mall, and we had, our partner Asmita, the street theater people had come, and we had a really gala time there, because there were so many people, so much of public, so many, the whole mall was full of people. And the moment the play started, there were about at least nearly about 500 to 600 people who were watching from all the floors. it was so interesting, so good to watch those people. So this is National Alliance meeting with Mr. Tiruchi Shiva, our Rajya Sabha speaker. He is um, he had presented the bill, raised the issue in the 0 hour, and he's also a strong gender rights person. He had taken up trans people's bill also. He had taken this women's reservation bill also. So it was a very, very good meeting with him. And he said one thing. He said that we will keep pushing, but the government at the center, the consensus which they keep talking about is not coming through. So that is very sad, but that's how it has been going on. This is another picture which Ranjana ji will enjoy watching. And people, I think this was on completion of 20 long years of campaigning, a public meeting in the drenching rains with members, drenching rain with members of National Alliance. I mean, the spirit was so high that I don't think we thought we would ever give up. So it went on, and lovely moments, of course, and so much effort goes into it. But at the end of the day, I think, yeah, it's so satisfying. Press conference at Constitution Club attended by 7 sisters and recorded by most of the most important national media. But once again, there was very few mention. Of course, we have a record of a few more than the previous ones, but then now this was conferences being arranged at universities. This is at Amity University. This one is at Miranda College, Delhi University, and Rising and Growing Voices of Women. This was at Jhansi, which I was talking about. It was a very, very, very good meeting. Absolutely heartwarming, because there were so many men in it, and they were all agreeing that yes, this must go on, and we will join the movement, and they are still with us, and they do respond, and whenever there is a meeting or something to be arranged, they always respond, and I think they are doing a good job there. This is Alka Namba. I think people will recognize, a political party member and the alliance partners at a public meeting. So there was no restriction of space or place. We would go on, get down to the streets whenever it was required, whenever it was called for. This is just after 9th March 2010, after the bill was passed. The growing pitch, the demand for passing it in the Lok Sabha increased. So you can see all our, like Nandita Das and Kamla Bhasin and other people. There is, I think,
Sharmila Tagore and Javed Akhtar were also there.
also, yeah. So yes.
And Shabana was there.
Shabana was also there. Yes, I don't have those pictures. You can share with me, Ranjana ji.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is reminding the government that they would say, एक औरत का जगह घर पे है, चूल्हे में है, चूल्हे के पास है या घर पे है. So we had to remind the government that we are also, ghar is also parliament, or upper house and the lower house. So we had taken out this. These are our partner organizations, apart from other organizations, of course. I have not brought out all the names here. Now, each section of citizens of this nation was reached out to emphasize the prudence and importance of inclusion of women in political process. Women's 50% reservation in the highest decision-making bodies is a promise made by the present government and mentioned in their manifesto. Till today, it has been only brought up by a few in public speeches and individual meetings, but by the leaders of the political parties. The National Alliance adopted the government's promise, Ab 33 Nahi 50, as a slogan and social media platform to remind them of their commitment. A few of the leaders admitted that the government had no intentions to bring it up in the near future. Its lack of will to bring up for discussion in the parliament and put to vote and pass it is clearly missing. I needed to add a little more that we've been having seminars and webinars at a different level, and the youth is what at the moment, and also at the grassroots we are focusing. They are still wanting people to the men to go in front. So how are we going to change that? Probably we should discuss and think about that also. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I was clear, and I hope I was able to convey what I wanted to. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. That was just to give you an idea of the amount of advocacy we've been doing at the national level to try and pass the Women's Reservation Bill. But now let's move on to the next session, which is focusing on the Northeast in particular. We have kept plenty of time for question and answers at the end. So we'll take question and answers after this session is over. Now I'd like to introduce Ms. Hasina Kharbhih to speak for a few minutes on the situation in the Northeast. Ms. Hasina Kharbhih is a founder member, and currently she is the president of Women Power Connect. She is an Ashoka Fellow. She is the founder of Impulse NGO Network, which has been working for over 3 decades now on prevention of human trafficking. Aside from prevention of human trafficking through Impulse NGO Network, she's also works with Impulse Social Enterprises, which works on empowering artisans in the Northeast so that they can earn a sustainable livelihood and trafficking does not take place. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you so much. But before I address this, I first would like to acknowledge that this entire webinar today would have not been possible without Gayatri and Bari behind the scene, putting this together fabulously, having all the resource persons coming on board. Thank you, Jarjum and Dr. Alana Golmei, for agreeing to share perspective from the Northeast, mainly because you have been in this forefront, Jarjum into the political arena, and from an activist to development to human rights, and into you will be sharing a lot in terms of your journey into political field as well. And Dr. Alana from the legal human rights and looking at Northeast situation, there'll be a great insight to all the audiences and how leadership can really take forward. Thank you, Dr. Padmini, for giving those little insight. And Dr. Ranjana, this journey of Women Power Connect has been amazing, from the founding board that I come in many years ago, and holding the precedent, and now we are online speaking to all women. I just wanted to bring a perspective before I get into the Northeast situation. Across the world and all in sectors, women remain severely unrepresented and under-acknowledged in leadership position. In politics, only 24% of members of parliament worldwide. So we really need to look into the worldwide scenario as well, and how the worldwide scenario is bringing the Northeast, that both are only 50 posts, and women on average earn only 24%. Now, when we use only 24%, women earned men, we really need to work that I do is inbound migration to the Northeast from various cities of India during the lockdown and now with COVID, and many losing their job. So we'll see that this global scenario is also going to affect mainly a lot of young women from the region. Furthermore, in business, only 22% of the individual currently holding senior managerial position in both the public and business sector. And these are women. Women comprise only 4% of the Fortune 500 CEO, and 33% of all companies globally do not have any female in senior management. So what I want to touch upon today is that when we talk about women leadership, we need to also look beyond political leadership, because we need women in all sectors. And we have seen a lot of women working force from the Northeast, but we really need to look at how does that culminate into women leadership and roles that they play that are very, very important. Being a social entrepreneur, I think many social entrepreneurs in the last 5 to 7 years, we have seen that women social entrepreneurs mostly they disrupt many of these patterns and gender inequality, as the sector has proven uniquely capable of empowering women leaders in its own field and changing the lives and welfare of women. But over 40, I would say over 40 years and across, when we look at the various countries, only 90 countries have seen some track record of women who are taking lead into the social entrepreneurship sector. But we're having seen more men. So it's time that we change this whole narrative. When we look at Northeast, or we look at a global, or we look at national level, that we need to have more women in the sector, and we have to see what is it that is really stopping them back to take these leadership roles. If you look at the situation of human trafficking today in the Northeast, no doubt the kind of analysis data that is available with the inbound migration, the vulnerability of women will increases in terms of their being exploited as the opening up is going to take place. So we need a lot of leadership willpower to enhance local economy, to enhance livelihood initiative at the ground, so that we disrupt the vulnerability of how women migrate unsafely. So that is where we need to look at narrative to build leadership. So building leadership, from my experiences, is looking at local economy where women participate and have resilient market, a consistent market, looking at from the context that political leadership engages more women from the region. We might have being in a better off situation comparatively, but when it comes to the ground, we still have challenges when it comes to women leadership at different sector. So with that, I would like to say that we have two wonderful, insights that is coming up from the two speakers, and we really love to hear from that. Thank you so much, and it's been a privilege and a great journey to be part of Women Power Connect, and I really look forward that more women from the Northeast, more membership, individual and organization come forward, because that kind of membership will actually help us to change the narrative of whether we talk about 32% reservation bill or the different leadership support system that we need to create. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Dr. Alana Golmei to speak for a few minutes on the situation in the Northeast. Dr. Alana Golmei is a lawyer. She's also the General Secretary of the Northeast Support Center and Helpline, which provides support to people from the Northeast who face abuse and discrimination in Delhi and NCR. And we know that after COVID-19, these instances of discrimination and violence, particularly against young women from the Northeast in Delhi and adjoining areas, has shot up quite a lot. She founded the Panlu Foundation in 2013, which deals with violence against women. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Gayatri, for the kind introduction, and thank you for having me here, Impulse, and then Hasina and Bari, and all of you. And thank you to be together with Ranjana Di, who has been really our, mentor. At the same time, you have been always our inspiration. So I hope we can really make, big steps after this discussion. We can take it forward from here. Yeah, of course, as we know, I don't really have to repeat again all this as part of data analysis. In terms of women representation in the Northeast in the political arena, there is a huge gender gap. We talk about Northeast women being empowered. We said that they are more empowered, they're more free, they're more independent. So we talk about all these things, but there are so many hidden things which really is a big challenge for us, because one thing that the problem is that political parties, I think I would say that political parties, they deny ticket to women, looking at the thing that the winnable chance that they the chance of winning election is very less. So therefore, even if women have equal electoral roles, and then women are so active in canvassing at the grassroots level. You would see in the Northeast, I being from Manipur, if you go there during election time, you will see huge women folks coming out in the streets. They are the one actually going from door to door. They are the one actually who is campaigning. They are the one who is actually queuing up, while voting. But then you will not find any one of them coming out to participate or to partake as one of the candidates. So this is something which is really, really unfortunate. And I would say that this is that kind of patriarchal mindset is still deeply rooted, that, this equal participation is not there. So I reiterate, that from the previous speakers like Ranjana D and all, who are talking about the 33% reservation bill. I think we really have to work on this together, and also putting more pressure, even to the government, which is both the center and also the state government, to work on this, so that it doesn't become a bill, but it becomes an act, and it really helps the what do you call, the women folks, and also especially in the Northeast. So this is something which all of us, I know, we would try to bring change. And now we also talk about one of the questions is about how to train and prepare women from the Northeast to take on leadership positions. This is something that we really have to take it up, because everybody is now juggling between the customary laws and also between the modern laws, the modern political institutions, for example, So why I'm saying is that we really need to reach to the left at the grassroots level, and not as women, only educated women, or let's say, I would not like to really say the word elite, but then I think we tend to be only among ourselves discussing, but I think we really need to reach down where women, though they may be less illiterate, they may not have much degree, but I think we need to reach out to them and tell them the provisions, the constitutional provisions that we have, that is Article 14, that is equality before law, Article 15.3, the state to make any special provision in favor of women and children, Article 16, that is equality of opportunity for all citizens. So I think all these things, none of them understand about this one. So I think we really need to make them understand that it is a violation of our constitutional rights if we are not giving this, like provisions which is granted to us, which is embedded in the constitutions. So I think we really need to reach out to Northeast women, because they don't really understand the concept of this, because some of the women themselves are already patriarchal, because they are thinking that we are meant to be like this. Men are supposed to control us, and then therefore we are only supposed to be working behind, but not to come out in the front line. So therefore I think we need to work among us, and then also tell them that this is our rights. And at the same time, Hasina has already mentioned about the economic security. So I think this is one of the ways how to empower us, because when it comes to elections, if money power is involved, yes, there are many other sources involved. So there we are actually lagging behind. But if a woman has been empowered, and if they're economically independent, I think this is also one way where they can come forward to partake in these things. Now, one example that I would like to talk about is that, women are actually, most of them are breadwinners in the family, who actually have come to the metro cities of India. And of course, human trafficking is one part. The other one is also, with a very less qualification, but they have come to work here. Now we have actually advocated after 2014, when a young boy from Arunachal Pradesh was lynched. So we took to the streets, it was a countrywide protest. And then we had really, knocked the doors of the government to, recruit, people from the Northeast in a Delhi police. So now we have more than 1,000, Northeast people as Delhi police here in Delhi. And out of this, 314 are women, so now, and then around 36 women were trained. We call it SWAT, which means like a black hats, to combat terrorists. So they were trained, by the international forces. And so they were so wonderful. I mean, they came out so empowered. They're not supposed to be sitting and working in spas or beauty parlors or massage parlors, not that way, so they are at the constable level, but still then these women were empowered. So we're also now advocating even whatever it is, even in railways. Railways is one department, is one where they should be actually recruiting most of the Northeast women. Most of the crimes also takes place, inside the railways. So I think this is also one way to empower them. So if we can have more of reservations, in a different sector, in different departments, where women can partake, and that way, they will have a step forward to take it for go forward, and that way they can go to the end of, from the grassroots level to the leadership level. I think we also need them to pull them up, and I think this is something that we can, look at. Yes, the other part is that I would not like to bring in what happened in Nagaland in 2017, where even the 50% of even women were actually against this. Okay, when the reservation thing started in the ULB elections, and so two petitioners who filed a petition at the court, they have to withdraw the petition because their life were at threat, and they said that actually you are actually violating against that the special provisions, that is Article 371A, and therefore this is infringement on the rights of the indigenous people. Therefore, a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of things, and then it was really really bad situation that time. So they have to withdraw their petition, election has to fall off, so things take part that way. And nobody is now, everybody is apprehensive to take it forward, this one. And also, the Kasi, what happened there, women will be stripped of their, scheduled tribe status. Like if they marry somebody which is a non-tribals, from that, and then even their children will not, avail that. So, and Mizoram is taking it as a good example, and they are like advocating in schools and all. So, these things are happening. I'm not saying that we should do away with the customary laws, I think, but then as we move on, and now is the situation, we are in the 21st century. So I think we can blend that. But if there's something which is blocking women from coming forward, I think, we need to look into that, but we need to have a lot of consultation and understanding so that men folk will not sit behind and oppose, but they should be the one to come out in front, and so that they will also advocate for this. So I think we need to do that. And if you look at in the Northeast, women are very, very good in a sense that in peace building. They are also taking part in curbing that, banning, let's say, illicit intoxicants, and also all kinds of things, elements. They are very good on that. So they are doing a very important role. But from that, I think we can also move forward to the leadership role. So these are a few things that I just like to highlight. And when then, so there are a lot of, advantages and disadvantages of customary laws also. And then there is a lot of apprehension, so women themselves don't really understand. So there are also many women who said that, reservation will not really help them, and it will go to only elitist women, and this is only for educated women. So I think we need to make them understand. And then, of course, coming back to the COVID time, actually it was a real hard time. But then overall, if you see that, if you have the task force, you have the committee, you have all these things for disaster management, but overall, all these 22 states, if you look at all over India, I think most of them are menfolk, whereas women are in the front line, whereas women are the most affected ones. But then, even in the committee and task force also, you see mostly only men deciding all these things. So if women could be part of it, if women can be, accommodated, I think we can make much better decisions. So I think there is a lot to talk about, but let me just end from here, and maybe in the question hour we can continue the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Some very interesting points raised on how to balance customary laws with modern laws, and how empowerment has to be at all levels. Our next speaker is Ms. Jarjum. She's from Arunachal Pradesh. She's a social activist turned politician. She openly condemns some of the customs traditional customs such as polygamy, child marriage, and the fact that women in Arunachal Pradesh do not have an equal right to property. She's a role model for many. And in 2019, she contested elections on behalf of Janta Dal Secular. So she can speak from her real experience. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Am I audible? Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Good evening, and congratulations to WPC, CSR, and IMPAS NGO. Yeah. So this, as Ranjana said, the concern of the women's movement and the activists for women's political leadership, especially through reservations and in the assembly and parliament, is a, I think, long story. It's I just want to kind of share my own reflections from my own experiences as an activist, and also as a person, as a woman actually in the political processes, in leadership process. As Ranjana mentioned, Arunachal, among all the 8 states, Arunachal has, I think, among tribal women, has enjoyed the benefits of women's reservation in panchayats. And this is, in fact, 2000 panchayat and municipal elections are happening. Right now, the process is on. And, we also have a very traditional society, conventional, conservative society, but somewhere we had to break it. We had to break it, and the process started in the early 90s after the passage of the 73rd and 74th Amendment Act. And many observers say that Arunachali women are getting into the political leadership process very smoothly. But I think we also have lots to learn from what went into it. And Hasina and I think Bari wanted me to talk about how to ensure more women leaders from the Northeast. In fact, as I personally see, every educated, empowered woman in Northeast actually is a leader in her personal, individual capacity. But in the political, rung of leadership, somehow they have not been able to, I think, break much ice. And when we look at Mizoram or Nagaland or even Meghalaya, where literacy or education amongst women are much ahead in all the Northeast states, somehow they have not forged much ahead in the political leadership arena. And in fact, Ranjana, I wonder if you can recall the year, was it 1994 or 1995, when the Arunachal Pradesh Women's Welfare Society, which I was heading as Secretary General, we had collaborated with you, the CSR.
1995. It was
Yeah.
1995, Judge.
Yes.
When we all had come to Arunachal.
Yes, when Kamlaji was there. So since those days, we have been kind of trying to understand the nuances of why women in Northeast are not in political leadership and how to forge ahead, how to foray into this public arena. And somehow, I would say, Ruth is also here. Since 1995 end, we have this organization called the National Alliance of Women, which is besides the Seven Sisters, which are more kind of seen and known in Delhi. But through the National Alliance of Women, where I was also part since its establishment in N95, we have conducted women's parliament and young women's parliament. And we understand that women are actually in their individual capacity, they are very empowered. They want to, they are also capable of actually leading the people, the political organizations. Somehow they have not been able to break through. Now, my experience in the last 17 years in the Congress party, in Arunachal, and in the Mahila Congress at the national level, and now after I was denied, party nomination to contest an election by the Congress in fifth time in 15 years, I actually switched party at the last moment in 2019, because it was kind of, also a challenge to the credibility and the sincerity and the commitment of a person like me as an activist. I have been working, and even in the political field, you want to kind of somehow establish some uh, uh, milestone, and that was also being denied. Now I personally see it not just as a weakness of the political party that I worked with for 15 long years, but also the entrenched patriarchy, in the political organizations. So therefore, I feel senior women or the sensitive men folk who actually want to see participation of more women in the Northeast states should actually make sure that all party organizations, their frontal bodies are actually kind of woman friendly. And as we all know, it's not just money. It's not just all about money. When we talk about political leadership, it's also about opportunities of visibility is capable, and potential leaders. And that kind of visibility has to be provided to the women in political organizations. And as I see uh, in this whole process that we all have been engaged in, demanding for women's reservation in the Legislative Assembly and Parliament, it's somehow, in Arunachal, we see that the younger generation of women who are getting into colleges and universities, they are more engaged in the academics and also into administration and jobs and all. So somehow it's important to, I think, scout the activists among them, the potential political leaders amongst the young people also, because it's not possible to just when the opportunities come, we cannot just scoop people up from nowhere and project them. We have to build up the capacity of the younger generation of women to take on the leadership positions that has to be created. And many often we also have all these political organizations where you have the women's wings, and all potential women leaders are pushed inside a women's wing, and but they are deprived of opportunities to prove their worth and capability as leaders in the mainstream, the main body, parent organization. So many often, like you are actually marginalized. So another thing that we need to lobby with the political parties is do away with the women's wing. Put capable women at par with their male counterpart in the political organizations. And then in traditional tribal society that I belong to in Arunachal, after the implementation of the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, in 2003 we had the first election with women's reservation. And as Arunachal Pradesh Women's Welfare Society activists, we went to the women and say, you all must contest the elections, reservations are coming. And they used to say, how can we do it? We don't know how to do it. So we have to promise them, we'll train you. We may not be able to train all the aspirants, but the elected people we can train. And along with the Hunger Project international organization, the first batch of women leaders in the panchayats in Arunachal Pradesh were given 2 years training, on leadership. And today, I think they are among the better leaders, better political leaders in Arunachal Pradesh. Some of them actually kind of, got inspired and more encouraged. And even one of them contested and got elected to the Legislative Assembly twice. So those kind of, I think, encouragements also need to be there, and hand-holding has to be there. And it's not necessary that, people always laugh at us also. You guys, you ladies, you always talk about women's reservation. Where are the women? or why don't you get into it? Why do you need reservation? Yeah, every woman don't need the reservation, but all of us must agree that reservation only can bring more women into political leadership. And like in yeah, so basically I find that every girl, every young woman that we actually see as potentials, we need to do a lot of kind of encouragement, mentoring, boosting their self-esteem, or uh, kind of help them to shut out the negativities, and uh, help them by actually showing the way, or maybe kind of lobbying for them. And I personally, I have also seen that one difficult situation is women in political arena. We also still have to balance the household, the family, and we have to come back home uh, after a certain time, in late hours also. And in that space, we cannot compete with the men folk. So we also ought to encourage our party leaders, whichever party we are in, to make sure that crucial decisions are taken during daylight times, or during a certain period where more women can participate in the discussions of the political party. And we must encourage our young women to fight against injustices, and uh, kind of to help them hold onto their own. And it's very important that every single woman who's trying to be economically independent, we ought to help them in their enterprises or in their efforts. So somehow we have to kind of facilitate women in whatever positive actions they are trying to take. Because right now uh, I'm in Itanagar, and our municipal elections are in the offing, and there are lots of banners. In fact, I was just browsing uh, uh, the social media pages today, and I found many women have been kind of elected unopposed because they got the ruling party tickets, from of the Bharatiya Janta Party. Now, in a place like Arunachal, political ideology doesn't matter. Many people, or most people, I would say, they will talk about power and success, and they would say, if only you get uh, the ruling party nomination, you will be successful in your elections. So elections are also somehow void of ideology and principles. It's at times very unscrupulous also. And so, when we are talking about women's political leadership, it also needs to kind of, instill or imbue some values of human rights, or uh, justice and equity in our leaders. And those things, I think, can happen better if we actually strengthen the women's movement across party lines. And right now here, tonight, in this webinar, I myself and Dr. Ruth Manorama, uh, both of us are here from the National Alliance of Women, and also we belong, kind of, belong to the, what do we say, the political thought of gender justice and uh, secularism. So, when we talk about women's leadership, I personally feel as mothers, or as women, as the feminine force, the feminine energy, we must also ensure that kind of, justice and equity in whichever political parties we are. So in the Northeast, if we have to talk about bringing in more women into political leadership. Leadership per se, I think everyone is a leader as I see them, but the political organizations have to be pried open, and especially by the women who are already inside those organizations, we have to do it. And beyond that, I think I don't have much to say right now. In fact, I'm waiting for the results of the ongoing panchayat and municipal elections that's happening, because my party, we haven't been able to launch candidates in maximum, like 99% seats we are not even contesting. It's very few, and so just I think a few Gram Panchayat members in the women's segment, and maybe one or two Zilla Parishad members are contesting from JDS. So, but given an opportunity, I think women leaders must encourage and make way, create more space for the younger generation of women in politics. Thank you so very much.
Right. I think we've just had a very rich discussion. Just seen that the situation in Arunachal seems to be a bit more different than what is happening in Manipur, as Selena Golmei had pointed out. We have time now for question and answers. So you can unmute yourselves and ask, or you can post your question on the chat. Please feel free.
Puta, puta, y fue puta. Puta, puta,
Can you just close it?
To unmute them.
Please, mute them.
puta, bellaqueo, hijo de puta. Vos sos un hijo de puta, 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 hijo de puta.
Hello.
Yeah, I think.
Gayatri, I think we have to close this meeting. Somebody else has entered it and trying to play a video, which is a funny video from Middle East somewhere. Just check it out. Yeah. Okay. I think it's gone.
Yeah, the admins can mute them. Yeah.
I removed them.
Okay.
You have removed them. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay,
I think,
good.
Gayatri, you have to you have to remove them, because I think they're entering it through a different space. Yeah.
Okay. So they've been removed now.
Yeah. So I just wanted to highlight this, that in many of the women leadership discussion that is happening in our country, there has been a lot of these interruption that has happening just like now. So it's quite unique that how the patriarchal system still play an important role in the social media context, which we need to take that on board, because people enter and then disrupt a lot of women leadership and political rights discussion, and that is one just great example just now, Gayatri, that in the future we need to really know how we will have this disruption that will also come online, and how media is being used as a disruptor for a lot of women leadership. But thank you so much, Jarjum Ete. I think you have brought forward of how redefining the metrics of success in terms of women leadership in political spaces, and also how to increase the power and the place of women in the space of political rights. And I think your experiences, I mean, you mentioned of how really what happened within it. I think those inputs can be taken. I mean, WPC would love to work together. This is one of the series, and we would like to have many series more to take this great learning and curate an ecosystem, and how we can inspire more, women from the Northeast to take this participation. And also bringing of more metric which is more positive, and frame some unique ways of how Dr. Alana Golmei has mentioned, We need to really come together. It's just not about few of us who have break those norms, but we also needs to look at the ground and more women to come on board. And WPC, in fact, would be very happy, to take these kind of suggestions and work together multiple with many, many women leaders. I just wanted to put that note to everybody. Gayatri, over to you. You can take the questions from anyone who is there.
Yeah, there is one question on how much have we succeeded in implementing gender budgeting in our systems. So I think this is specific to the Northeast. Any of the panelists, or I'm not sure whether it is specific or it is asking generally, but I think any of the panelists could answer. How much have we succeeded in implementing gender budgeting in our systems?
Do you want me to take the reply then?
Yes, please.
Okay, I think it's important to understand that in a context in which a lot of issues are at the moment either lost or diluted or not paid attention to, gender budgeting certainly has been one of the casualties in the process, because we, with the first budget we had met when Arun Jaitley was the finance minister, and we tried to push for gender budgeting, but from then onwards there has been no mention. Certainly some departments have that possibility, but they are not really paying any attention to it. I do not know the state story, but I think it must be by Oxfam and UN Women and other such organizations which have the kind of resources that we need to study to understand what's going on in terms of gender budgeting, because that's the fundamental to progress of women in terms of how much resource is getting allocated and who's receiving that resource and how it is getting utilized. I think that is extremely important to know for everyone in the country. But somehow we are not. If anybody has any report, let's share it with each other. And I have something which has come from Niti Aayog, and I would like to share it with all of you. But as I see it, that the process is almost, if not over, it's lost. We can certainly connect with the states. I have heard from Rajasthan that they have some gender budget issue going on, but not other states. Madhya Pradesh had it, but no more. If any one of you have any other information, maybe sharing will be a good idea.
Yeah, may I join Ranjana here?
Yes,
thank you, Dr. Vikas Bage. It's so kind of you to be here with us. Friends, Vikas is teaching in the Rajiv Gandhi University, and this is a question from him. Actually, so far as I know about Arunachal, the gender budget issue has been time and again discussed in the state assembly, but somehow what I get to see personally is it's exactly not gender budgeting, but a women's component in the planning process. And I think because between you and me, at least in Arunachal, I personally don't see the implementation of gender budgeting in the planning process. Thank you.
I have a question, and I'd like to ask, in the areas of the Northeast where the panchayat system is not there in place, and where the 73rd Amendment has not been implemented, are women active as per customary laws and tribal practices? Do they take decisions at the local level, such as relating to water or sanitation?
Can you please identify yourself, because we can't see you?
Oh, I'm Gayatri. Okay. From WPC.
Okay. As far as I know, the traditional councils now are trying to open up, but in most cases, the participation of women are more kind of cosmetic or token. It's more akin to tokenism. But somehow women especially after the coming of the self-help groups and the rural livelihood mission program, that has been intensified in some of the states, and through those coming together, women are starting to assert a bit more, so much so that many men folk actually take umbrage and say, these young women, they don't even know how to respect the elders, but they're starting to question in many places. And but in Nagaland, I'm not sure if there is anyone from Nagaland here, but yeah, the Village Development Council has participation of women. But again, Village Development Council is kind of, an evolution that's happening to the traditional councils. Gayatri, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah. I am Ruth Manorama, a friend of Ranjana Kumari, and maybe like after 40 years, we are meeting again. Now, in between, we met in a number of UN meetings while we went after the Beijing conferences. Otherwise, we know that, she's doing well, and she must be thinking I'm also doing well. So like that, our life has gone. But I think that today, in the women's movement, and very few people in the women's movement have gone into politics. I think that also we need to understand. See, at one point of time, when, the women's movement based in Delhi, and our representatives were also there from the National Alliance of Women. Actually, they took, 2 posters of Ranjana Kumari as well as Ruth Manorama and said that we will nationally, support these 2 candidates. Ranjana from the north, Ruth Manorama from the south. But the problem is, as soon as they say, they don't, mobilize their either resources, moral support, whatever one needs it. They can name, okay, they will be better for, being standing as a candidates. But my thing is, from the women's movement, we talk about, the issues of political decision making, and women must be there, but we always shy. Yeah? We are always shy for various reasons. One is, being being in NGOs. Therefore, many of the people do not want to go into the parties also. There is also pressure that if you are in the party, the party also says the, the certain rules and regulations says, the national rules, that we should not be in NGOs where we receive money and all that stuff. So, but I'm saying that we must encourage women to join in politics, number one. Secondly, we should always, on any issues that you are working out, that's only a political solution can give, answer to such problems. For example, I've been working on health and land in Bangalore. And so much every time there was a demolition, there was housing problem, there was something, I always go to the party and pull them down from their office and say, please come in, answer your people. Why there is a demolition, why housing is not given, why money is not given. So I think there should be a lot of, interactions must take place with political parties. Therefore, I think that women, should be encouraged, in our working areas, that, they should also get into parties. Only when women are in larger number in parties, the men also will have some fear. They'll think, okay, yes, women are now come as a big wave, that we must, give spaces to women. They're so patriarchal, maybe the president of a party would, would say that, yeah, women's participation is important, this and that. But next to that rank, everybody is so patriarchal. Sometimes they won't even allow you to sit along with them in the diocese. Yeah. So this happens. I just now come from a meeting where, the webinar I organized, it's not that I'm saying that, this is a kind of an example, we are planning, I wrote a letter to the chief and said that we want, the women's, group want, that, we wanted to do women wanted to have a day, women's human rights, human rights as women's rights as humans is on the December 10th. All the women are coming to this meeting. Can we go ahead? Everybody said go ahead. Now the men are saying we also will join with you. I think many of the issues that we know so well about budgeting, about human rights, about economic rights, social rights, the party people doesn't have any knowledge about all these things. I think that when we go in, like somebody like Ranjana or Jarjum and all that, like they will be able to also shape the mood. They think that's a bigger supporter, big mouth has come already for them to open their small voices. Otherwise, women don't even speak. They will sit and nod their head and clap and all that and go have some tea and all that and go from the meeting. So I would say that I think there should be, if women want to be in the mainstream, why women are not in large number? Because women are not pushing themselves into the parties, into we are neither pushing women or we ourselves entering. So I think that critically, if women have to be there, critical mass of women have to be there in politics to change. I think women have to be there in large number. I think this is my experience, though it's so difficult, it's so frustrating. In the women's organization, we are the head, we do everything, we are the bosses. Nobody, I mean, patriarchal attitude is there with other women, but even then we can, kind of cut it. But, in party politics, even to give one letter, it takes months. Jarjum and myself going through several problems. Jarjum is sitting in Arunachal Pradesh, I am sitting there. So I'm saying that, our hand is so necessary for women in the party also to move things. For any kind of, things, we need these political parties to support the issue. So therefore, I think that, women standing outside and saying that why women are not given seat, why women are not large number in politics, that is one way of looking at it. I think we should also push women, because to participate in all the affairs, it's so necessary. Means I feel that women, when they're young, not when we are 60 years old. I think that is also there. When women are young, 35 years, 40 years, they must go in, and then, you can see over years that you can change certain things. It is possible. That is my thing. So I'm so happy to see everyone. Ranjana, after a long time. Jarjum, I met, 10 days ago, we've been in touch. And, Gayatri, Hasina, especially from the Northeast, and Padmini, Kumar. I'm so happy that your activities are going very strong. But you have stopped your what do you call? You used to have that newsletter. Newsletter is not there. Yes. So in order to have any political statistics, I always pick up your magazine, Ranjana, and then quote the number. This is what happening, that is what happening. Some people have that kind of statistics, and your organization. Though I did not join, but I'm a member also, long time member. Yes. In the initial stages, but because of the work, I couldn't join. I think you must encourage women to join in parties largely. I think this is one of the things that we must do, because accidentally or non-accidentally, when they go there, they have to fight. They will come in. I think at the end of the years, I will ask Ranjana how many politicians she has created. How many people? Of course, they're all in 73rd and 74th Amendment. I think we have a big fight before us. 1/3 reservation. In the Legislative Assembly, the kind of politics that we see today, I do not know whether we have any redemption at all. So I'm not saying that we women can change it better, but I think this understanding, analysis, perspectives, completely out in the parties. I think women like us can mainstream this. Yeah. Thank you very much. It was so nice to meet you. And Jarjum had sent one bit. Otherwise, I would not have come. one bit saying that, she's speaking. She's speaking.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. Actually, thank you very much for this. Newsletter has become quite online thing, so I'll ensure that you receive it. And because it's all online now, and most of our work is going on online, none of us are in the office, so that's why it may not have reached you. But of course, this is this year's story, but we are coming out with newsletters regularly. I think Gayatri ensured that our newsletter as well as our annual report goes to Ruthji also. And thank you for joining us. We are very, very happy to hear from you and see you. Padmini ji, you join me in clapping for your... yes.
Actually, I wanted to give her a virtual hug, Ruth.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, yes. Only virtually you can hug each other now.
Yes.
You cannot physically hug people now. Okay, be safe, all of you. And we have to survive in order to give, life to others. Yes. Thanks. Thanks, Ranjana. Thanks, Gayatri. And,
thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So we are now
I just come on board, Gayatri, just to tell Ruth, thank you so much with your long experience to join hand today and interact with everybody. For us, it's really, really a strength to have somebody who's gone through a lot of processes and giving us a lot of support for a lot of women. I just want to announce that as we talk about how do we reach further from an online, every session now is being on the Instagram story live. And thanks to young women like Shita Padam at Impulse NGO Network making it live, and everybody is getting to hear, those who haven't joined in as well. Bagay Shri is going live by tweeting every inputs of all the speakers right now. So I think these are also called women leadership, who participate and join hands and making Women Power Connect, a part of the process. So I just want to inform that please follow Women Power Connect's social media handle, Impulse NGO Network. Please share all the sessions that is going on so that others who could not join us today will be able to hear these conversations.
Thank you so much. We are out of time now. So, but there is one question I can, if it's okay, we can take one last question, which is on, has the matriarchal system helped women in Khasi and Garo area as compared to patriarchal society? Maybe we can take this as the last question, and then we can close.
All right. I saw that question. So I just wanted to first correct the person who asked the question. It's not matriarchal. Meghalaya has a matrilineal society, which the customary law, the maternal uncles will play a very important role. No doubt, I think the debate about how matrilineal society has helped to enhance women leadership, we might be in a better position in many ways, but we haven't seen many women leaders coming out of Meghalaya. So I think sometimes the comfort level that women has in a matrilineal society, where they don't take a bold step to start changing few of the customary law norms in participating in decision making, is also a question that today women need to start asking that question, because it's not about customary law not helping or enhancing women leadership. So it's not that it's changed. We are in a better position in terms of others, but that doesn't mean we don't have violences or domestic violences. I think these are universal, but we don't have many women leaders, whether at the political level or even at different levels. So we need to have more young women coming up, not just from Meghalaya, but I think from the Northeast. And I think there was another question that came up, which I'll sum it up together, about why is it women not taking this participation. So I would just want to emphasize that if you look at women leaders, women are 45% more than men to be seen as demonstrating empathy consistently. So among other women, outperform men in inspirational and transformative leadership, conflict management, that what Dr. Alana Golmei has mentioned, organizational awareness, adaptability to a lot of teamwork, responding to global challenges. But we need to change narrative of how customary law has to evolve, and the good side has to be preserve, but I think site will have to take it to the next level.
நாளைக்கு வீட்டுக்கு வந்து பண்ணிட்டு போயிடுறியா? நான் இங்க வரல ஆபீஸ்க்கு.
I think
I hope that
historically,
answers the question on both. And over to you, Dr. Ranjana.
just the last concluding statement that historically now the pendulum is moving from men time to women time. It is the women time which is already coming, and that pendulum is moving, and we can see that there's a big shift even globally for this push for more women leadership. And I'm sure with the younger generation coming up, and just to answer that small question of Ruth about how many training programs we have run, and a lot of them are in very active politics, and I see some of them even in parliament and state assemblies. From the course we run also in Bangalore, you remember IIM course that we did about women leadership, a lot of them have joined active politics and they are doing very well. So I think that pipeline has to be created, and also that we should keep faith in the time, because certainly it is from men time to women time that we are going to see soon. Thank you.
I think with those words, maybe I'll request Bari from Impulse to say the concluding comments.
Yeah. We from Impulse NGO Network and from Women Power and appreciate each and everyone out time and joining us today. This key issue on women's leadership. It has been a belief that we strengthening in administrative role. Our women Kumari, Padmini, Dr. Alana, Golmei. I also like indeed shaping an important dialogue in place that our country space of women leadership. Forward to connecting with each one of you. Kindly follow us on our social media handle, the details of which is shared in the
Okay, I think there was an internet connectivity problem. So this seems to be one of the problems with having conferences with so many states involved. And this is the first in a series of conferences we'll be holding, and we'll be holding further webinars on women's political participation in all of in India, in the other regions. So look forward to seeing all of you in those as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Take care and be safe.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.